It's Mr. Allen, back with some more videos. A little bit more advanced genetics today. We're going to take first and describe the difference between homozygous and heterozygous. Homozygous just means that you have a combination of two of the same trait being shown. So, if capital B, our dominant trait, is brown, and lowercase b, our recessive trait, is blue, we could symbolize them as fully homozygous traits by showing them in this genotype. A capital B is a homozygous dominant. A lowercase b is a homozygous recessive. Heterozygous is one of each of the traits shown. So the only way to show a heterozygous, and the only way it's represented, is when capital B, the dominant trait, and the lowercase b, the recessive, is going to be displayed in the genotype. The phenotype for a heterozygous still will side on the side of the dominant. So this person is still going to be brown-haired, but they're going to pass on potentially the ability for their child to have blue hair, or blue eyes, or blue hair, or whatever we're talking about. So that's heterozygous versus homozygous. Moving on from just homozygous versus heterozygous, we then use all that information, put it into something called a Punnet Square, and then figure out genetic percentage or probability. There's three types of dominance though. There's complete dominance. When we do a Punnet Square and complete dominance, we're talking that the dominant allele, the capital letter, is going to overtake the lowercase letter. So my parents in this example, so complete dominance when a dominant trait overtakes the recessive, your letter combinations could be homozygous dominant, heterozygous, or homozygous recessive. My parents in this example are going to be heterozygous, just for sake of example, and then we'll go through all the genotypes and phenotypes, percentage probability of these two parents turning out different types of children. The capital B in this example is going to be brown eyes, the lowercase b is going to be blue eyes. So we cross it in a Punnet Square just like this. This square would be this letter and that letter, so I have two capital B's. That is a homozygous dominant child. I have this B going to that B here, so that's a heterozygous child. This lowercase b and this uppercase b mix. In a Punnet Square, you always put the capital B first. Then your lowercase b here. So in complete dominance, if we had two heterozygous parents, so this is parent 1 and this is parent 2, you would be able to turn out three different types of children. You would turn out a homozygous dominant children, which would have a phenotype of brown eyes because there's a capital letter there. There is two heterozygous children. That would turn out also a brown-eyed child. And then there is a lowercase b possible child. That would be your phenotype of blue because that's a homozygous recessive. So when we talk about the percentage of probability, we're taking it out of the possible options of the Punnet Square. So the homozygous dominant, which had a phenotype of brown, would be 25% because it is 1 out of 4. The heterozygous has 2 out of 4, so that's 50%. And the homozygous recessive would be blue, and that's going to be 25% because there's only 1 out of the 4 there. So that would be complete dominance. If we then move on to incomplete dominance is when two traits actually are going to mesh. So in a heterozygous parent, it's going to make a different color, or a heterozygous pairing, it's going to make a different color. If you have two capital R's, so your homozygous recessive in this example, it would still be the color red. The lower r, the lowercase r, is going to represent the color white. So if you had a lowercase, you would have a white child. If you have that heterozygous option, your phenotype is going to be pink. So again, if we crossed our options in a Punnet Square, and again, I'm using heterozygous parents for the sake of example. So parent 1 is a heterozygous parent, parent 2 is also a heterozygous parent. So if I cross them out, yeah, there we go. So if our genotype possibilities turn out, I have the homozygous dominant, which we talked about is going to be red scales in fish in this example. That's 1 out of 4, so that's 25%. Then we had a heterozygous, sorry, 2 possible heterozygous children turn out. So that phenotype, like we talked about, because it's incomplete dominance, if we're talking an incomplete dominant problem, which the question in a test that you're going to get next week is going to say, either if it's complete dominance, incomplete dominance, or the next one we'll talk about, which is codominance. If it says incomplete dominance, when the 2 alleles mix, when you have a capital letter and a lowercase letter, it's going to merge and it's going to form a different color or a different thing. So in this case, the heterozygous parent is going to be pink. And we had 2 potential possibilities in our Punnet Square, which means 50% of our children turn out pink. Lowercase r was our third turned out. And in that case, we had then the phenotype of white happening, which 1 out of 4 is 25%. That would be incomplete dominance. And our last type of dominance is codominance. Codominance is where both traits equal each other out. They're both kind of dominant. So one is not going to overtake the other in complete dominance. They're not going to merge together like incomplete dominance. Both traits are going to be shown. So now you're going to get stripes or spots or something like that. That's going to be the codominant trait. So in this case, we symbolize both traits with capital letters. So the capital B is going to be black fur, the capital W is going to be white fur in this example. Again, if I have a parent that would be homozygous dominant, in this case, capital B, it would be a black furred parent. If I would have a homozygous dominant, again, both traits are dominant, they're both equaling each other out, that's why we have spots or stripes. But if I have a WW, that would be a white furred parent. The BW option, that's heterozygous in this case. That heterozygous option is going to turn out a black and white spotted or striped furred animal in this case. So again, I'm using heterozygous parents. So these both parents are going to be that spotted or striped option for sake of example. So if I do my Punnet Square, X Games mode. So if I do my Punnet Square, I'm going to turn out 3 potential options for my offspring. I would have a capital B option. I would have a capital B, capital W option, and I have a capital W option. My capital B option is going to be a black furred animal. The BW option is going to be a black and white stripe or spotted. And then the WW is going to be a white furred animal. And again, it's the same thing as before. You count how many out of the Punnet Square there were, the potential options there, you get your percentage. So capital B appears once, you get 25%. The BW, that occurs twice, so you get 50%. And then the WW, that's white, that's 25%. So that is your 3 main types of dominance. And that is going to be all of the stuff that you really need to review for your quiz. I recommend checking out the quizzes to review a little bit for the test, that you're going to get next week, and or looking at the study guide that you're going to also be provided next week to do and complete. Some of you might have gotten that study guide before the break. Not a bad idea to go ahead and work ahead. I hope this video finds you safe and well. Mr. Allen, signing out. This video is brought to you by Bruce the Gecko.